Welcome to this week's episode. This is the last in our series on customer education and why on earth you would do that. Our first episode in this series was talking about if you are not convinced that you're in the education business, you really are. If you're in sales, you're also in education. The second one was about different topics and different ways to apply that to your customer relationships and how to make that work. Today, we're actually getting into the specifics of 3 ways to provide customer education that improves sales.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, there's probably more ways to do this than we could shake a stick at. There are organizations that have entire conferences with stacks of education sessions and all kinds of things providing education, but we're going to talk about 3 of the simplest and easiest to get started.
And least expensive.
And least expensive, exactly. Ways to provide customer education. So these are things that you could do starting next week if this is something that fits your business and your situation. So first one is a tip of the week or information snack, series of information snacks. The second one is webinars, and the third is on-demand courses. So these are fairly simple and easy to implement, and they apply pretty much across the board. Just about anybody who is in any kind of profession having to do with aviation can apply one or more of these methods, right?
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, what you need to think about is what is your most urgent audience and purpose? If it is prospecting and lead generation, then you're going to do a slightly different version of this than if your biggest or most urgent problem is onboarding new customers, or if your biggest and most urgent problem is generating new business from old customers. Now, if you've been in business for any length of time, I'm going to suggest that your bias should be toward number 3, because for most of us, this is our fastest path to money, is by generating new business from old customers. It is so much easier to get more business from someone that already knows, likes, and trusts you than it is to acquire a new customer.
Exactly.
Okay. So to start with, let's start with tip of the week. This is the simplest and easiest to start with, and I cannot think of any business that could not benefit from putting a tip of the week out there, no matter how simple or how low budget you happen to be at the moment, and we've all been there, right? So, you can think of what are the things that people need to know about my product or service. What do we get the most questions about? What do people have the most problems with? What are their biggest complaints, and how can they be avoided? You could sit there and brainstorm at least 10 of these just by sitting down with a piece of paper, and then you could turn these into emails that go out once a week for the next 10 weeks. And instantly you have a customer education program that is going to help generate more sales, or you'll have something that you can use to generate leads by saying, here are 10 things you should know about this topic.
And the customers that you have will say, because they know people that kind of watch your product. Mm-hmm. And they will say, well, he knows all about it. Well, I get a tip all the time, and it's really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. You need to go talk to him about what you need.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. He tells us all the time. He is my reliable source of information about this topic. Okay, so a couple of things you could do. You could do a did you know. If you start a sentence with did you know, the rest of the sentence will probably write itself, right? Mm-hmm. Did you know you can also do this with our product or service? Did you know, you can even do this with what we call interesting but useless facts. Did you know that a new one of these rolls off the assembly line every 15 minutes? Or there's almost always some kind of gee whiz cool facts about this that you can mix in with your education to make it a little bit more fun, and you can be as funny or as serious or as dry as you want to be and still be tolerable, because this is just a simple, short 2 or 3 sentence email, right?
Yep.
Okay. Another way to do this is here's a common problem and how to fix it, or here's another way to get more value out of our product. So, we found out that one of our customers was doing this. We hadn't thought of that. So, here's another way that you could use this. Mike Patey with Best Tugs does a really good job of this. And he does really, really weird little videos of people doing strange things with his tugs. Dressing up their grandkids as cowboys and putting them on the tug, dressed up as a horse. There's all kinds of crazy things that they do with these tugs. And he's got his fans trained to be sending this stuff in. So, there's a lot of things that can kind of take on a life of their own if you put yourself in the mindset of helping your customer get more value or enjoyment or fun out of your product, right?
Yep.
Okay. So pros and cons of the tip of the week. They are short and interesting. They are easy to absorb and share, to your point. Someone may want to just forward an email or a short little video to their friends, especially if it's funny. They're very likely to do that if it's just a short little bit of information or a short little video. You can use these for prospects or customers. So, people who may not already be customers may still be interested in your tip of the week. The cons for these is that they can be shallow. You're not going to make somebody an expert on your product or service by using a tip of the week.
Yeah, but shallow is okay in this case.
Exactly. And they're also kind of hit or miss. So they're not comprehensive or systematic. So, people may or may not have seen any particular one.
Or they may say, yeah, I knew that.
Exactly.
But okay, they won't know the next one.
Right. So those are the pros and cons of the tip of the week information snacks. This is how you deliver them. Several different methods, right? The first one is to use email. The second is to use Facebook. Third is to use LinkedIn. And of course you could use TikTok. You could use any number of things. We're just using the ones that are the most popular in the aviation industry for aviation demographics. So Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and I think I would actually go in that order. Of course, some are going to be better for one than another. So if you can do video, by all means, use YouTube first, right? If you're just going to do text tips, then an email to your list, or you may be able to spiff those up with Canva, make them a little nicer, or use a graphics program. You could send those to a graphic artist and get 10 of them spiffed up a little bit, put together with some airplane clip art or something like that to make them look really cool, and put them on social media and get a little bit more attention out of them than you would just for a line of text. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ways to make them a little bit more systematic and or automatic is if you're using email, put them together in a list and put them into MailChimp or Constant Contact or some kind of a system that will deliver them once a week. So you don't want to be typing this out and sending an email from your email client on your computer once a week. Number one, that is not a good use of your time. Secondly, that's kind of illegal unless you have people that have opted into your list. So just type them all out. You can spend maybe an hour in MailChimp or Constant Contact and get them all scheduled as emails. Or you can set them up so that after somebody requests your tips or after you make a sale, you can tag that person in Constant Contact or MailChimp or whatever to receive these tips one a week for the next 10 weeks.
Right.
Okay. Super easy. The next one, if you are using Facebook or LinkedIn, both of those media have groups. And I would recommend that if you are selling to a particular type of person, you can either use groups that are already there or you can create your own group and then publish your tips in that group so that those tips become another reason that they should join your group. That has the added benefit of helping your customers get to know your other customers, helping them see what your other customers are asking and getting involved in those conversations and other things. So it's a nice way to publish your tips and also build your community. Same thing with your YouTube channel. If someone subscribes to your channel on YouTube, then they will automatically get each additional video as you put them out. So some nifty ways to automate this process and make it a little bit less work and a little bit more fun, more benefit, everything else, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else that you want to say about I mean, how do you get tips of the week? I've seen people in the past do them on postcards, but I don't know that they...
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Cool. All right. So once again, your audience, you want to think about your audience and purpose. If your purpose is prospecting and lead generation, you're going to do a different type of tips of the week. How to choose a product or service, how to choose the best of the options out there, how to solve this problem. How do you know if this person is a good fit for this product or service, and things like that. So that's one way of doing a tip of the week. If you're onboarding new customers, then of course you're going to have a different set of questions. These are the first 10 questions that people always have in their first 10 weeks of using this product or service, right?
Yep.
Okay. Generating new business from old customers, totally different set of tips. Here you're going to want to talk about how and when to upgrade, how and when to refer someone, other kinds of things, reasons you want to refer somebody, those kinds of things. So you can use any of those, but you want to make sure that you keep those lists separate because you don't want to be driving people crazy with stuff that's not relevant to them.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So that's tip of the week. Almost anybody can do that. Webinars. Slightly smaller number of people can do this, but still, it's very, very useful, and I think a lot of people that have not considered it should, for these reasons. Webinar topics you could do. How do you know if you're ready for this product or service? How do you choose the best one? How to make money or save time or serve customers better, whatever benefit it is that your product or service provides by using this product. So those are topics that you could use to do a very popular webinar. And the most important thing when you're doing a webinar is to have a good title and a good outcome. You're promising them something that is going to be worth an hour of their time. So, walking away with something that is, you're going to save, you could use a case study. This is how this FBO saved $100,000 a year by using our product. That is an outcome that you can promise using a webinar that would be very attractive to other FBOs. So, use a case study, use a example, use lots of diagrams, use other things to make this really, really interesting. And you do want to promise a good outcome because that is the most important thing to get people to actually accept your invitation. So, the pros about webinars is that they're more popular than ever. Everybody is on Zoom. Even people who never heard the word Zoom a year ago are Zooming like crazy every day of the week. And so they're really, really comfortable with it. They can be very engaging, especially if you're a talented presenter. You can use the tools in a webinar to do a live chat. You can answer questions live. You can do a lot of things like that. And they are very, very effective at making sales. The cons are they are time consuming to set up and run, and they also have very low attendance rates. Even the best webinars have a less than 50% show up rate of the people who have registered for the webinar. So don't expect everybody who registers to attend, and don't expect everyone that shows up to buy. But, those two things being said, if you set expectations appropriately, they really are a pretty effective way to make sales. I've bought products from webinars because they answered all my questions and they seemed to be very responsive and helpful people. You kind of get to know them.
And were you happy with the product?
Yeah. In most cases, that's correct. I got a pretty good idea of how it worked. I got all my questions
Did you ever
answered.
have a bad one?
Did I ever buy a bad product from a webinar? Not that I can think of.
Okay.
You?
Ah.
Have you ever bought a product from a webinar?
Nope.
Oh, okay. 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 So this is the process if you're doing a webinar. The first thing, and not to be neglected and not trivial, is to advertise your webinar.
How far in advance?
At least 6 weeks in advance is when you want to start advertising your webinar. People are so busy and there are so many demands on their time that you want to make sure that you're getting on people's calendars, and they're blocking out the time for you. And that's another reason it has to be a big outcome or a big promise from that webinar. You can use email for this. You can use Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google Ads. You can do postcards to advertise webinars. There's lots of ways to advertise webinars, but the main thing is do not neglect this step, or you will find yourself talking to an empty room, right?
Talking to yourself.
Talking to yourself. Right. That's never a good look. But weirdly, you're going to have more people watch the replay of if you do the webinar right, you're going to have more people watch the replay than actually attend live. And that's just a function of how many people are busy and are able to attend at a specific date and time. You can use Zoom, you can use Facebook Live, you can use Google Hangouts, you can use GoToWebinar. There's a thing called Webinar Jam. There's a bunch of other things that we've used. The tool is not as important as the content and the title and the promise and the outcome and the delivery. So there's a lot of things that are 1,000 times more important than which platform should you use. But there's a story about everybody always asks Lance Armstrong about the bike. What bike do you use? What tires do you use? What brakes do you, all of those things. And his answer to this, and he actually wrote a book entitled "It's Not About the Bike," right? So it's the same thing with webinars. It's not about the webinar platform. It doesn't matter whether it's Zoom or Facebook Live. They all are varying degrees of frustrating and or buggy. We've tried all of them, and they all have their pros and cons. We're using Zoom right now, and we really like it, I think. The only problem we've had with Zoom is the internet being patchy for us or for any of the other presenters. And that's something that Zoom can't help, so, we really can't blame them for that.
In which case, it would have been the same way, no matter what your media.
Exactly. So it's not about the bike. Choose a platform that you're comfortable with. Learn all the buttons and whistles and everything else, and just focus on the advertising and the delivery. You are going to want to follow up after this. The most effective way is by phone. Like, pick up the phone and call somebody, dial their number, and talk to them with your voice, which is a weird thing these days. But it actually is the most effective way to follow up. You can also follow up by email, and what you want to do is really advertise that replay of the webinar, because a lot of people who intended to come, and this happens to me all the time, I've intended to go to a webinar and something comes up, or if I have a webinar versus a customer on the phone with a question or a problem, I'm going to take the customer with the question or the problem every single time. And I think we're all in that same boat. So replays are really important and very popular. And you'll have more people watch your replay than actually watch the live webinar. So you want to make sure you're delivering that well. Okay, so audience and purpose for webinars. You could do a webinar for prospecting and lead generation, if that is your most important problem at the moment. And that would mostly be like that case study that we talked about. How can a prospect get this problem solved in the most how can this prospect get this problem solved in the most effective way, right?
It's easy for you to say.
I'm going to cut that out. Well, I was going to cut that out, but...
Yeah.
Okay. You can use a webinar to onboard new customers. This would be really great for a recorded webinar. Or to do a webinar once a week for all of the new customers, or once a month for all of the new customers that week or that month, to get them on board, have an opportunity for them to ask questions and to listen to each other's questions too. Because often we learn more from questions other people are asking than we would know to ask ourselves, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And having your customers communicate with each other is not a bad thing.
Exactly. And then the third audience and purpose here is to generate new business from old customers. So if you have an upgrade to your product or service and you want to roll that out, then a webinar is a great way to do that, and say, have a free webinar for your existing customers about the upgrades, and here's why you may or may not want to upgrade your product or service.
Right.
give them the opportunity to ask questions and everything else. And again, you get that social proof of everybody talking to each other and everything else. So those are nice. Third way of delivering customer education is an on-demand course. And this is something that a lot of people have never considered, because it was never something that we considered until fairly recently. And the reason is because it seems like a lot of work. Until recently, there wasn't really the technology to do it very well. Most of the online courses or on-demand courses that we're familiar with are terrible. They're the compliance courses, the mandatory things that you have to take if you work for a corporation, and you have to do this once a year HR sponsored training that is awful, and it's stock photography with some monotone reading things over, and then a bunch of questions you have to answer, right?
Yep.
Or you had one in the military that was even worse. You read a thing and answer the questions.
It's quite effective.
Yeah.
But boring.
Not riveting. Okay. Nowadays, there are some ways to make this really, really useful. You can do short little bits of video followed by some really interesting things like, having people upload. In one of our lessons on one of our classes, we talk to them about how to leave a voicemail, and then we have them leave their own voicemail and upload the audio file that they've created. So, there's lots of things that you can do nowadays that you didn't used to be able to do to make this interactive and to make it fun and to make it really useful for people, because they're actually doing things. A lot of our courses are a hybrid of on-demand and live, because we want to do some role-playing and things like that. So we do on-demand during the week, and then once a week we meet, and then we do role-playing on the things that we learned in the on-demand course, by watching the videos and answering the questions and things like that. So this is a really cool way of doing it, because that course becomes kind of a nice little customer service portal for your clients. If you've got little 2-minute videos on different topics, then they don't have to take the whole course. They can just go straight to the topic that they're the most interested in, watch a 2-minute video, and maybe there's an activity or something that they can practice that, or call you and get some more information and set a time or whatever, depending on how you set up the course. Okay, so some on-demand courses that you could use: how to solve this problem, how to make more money, save more time, serve more customers or serve them better, how to get this benefit or outcome. So, we use the example for a webinar, how this FBO saved $100,000 a year by using our product or service. That's exactly the sort of thing that you could do as an on-demand course, except that instead of having to sit there for an hour or 90 minutes, this can be broken up into 2-minute chunks that they can take whenever they want, and still get the benefit and the outcome that they're after.
Exactly.
Okay. So the pros of on-demand content are that they are convenient, they're engaging, they're effective, they are not time-consuming once it's built, right? So you build it once, and then as many people can take that as you like after the fact, and you are not spending your time solving this problem every single time. People are going to the portal and solving it themselves. You can offer certificates of completion if they meet certain qualifications, if they've gone through all your materials. You may be able to offer PDUs or CEUs for the NBAA CAM program, or for PMI, Project Management Institute's PMP program. They require a certain number of hours every 3 years in the case of PMI, which is really kind of bizarre because you forget about it in that amount of time, and then all of a sudden you need a bunch of PDUs. So you can offer that, you can get your course approved for that sort of thing. The only con is the initial setup. It does take some time to record those 2-minute videos and to get them all lined up and to get your course built and tested. So that being said, what they have now is learning management systems, and they're 1,000 times better than they were 10 years ago when you're when I was at Wells Fargo taking their HR required, thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do that, this is how you register for your insurance, this is how you do all your stuff. Those types of courses. So what these courses offer, and we've invested pretty heavily in a learning management portal that we're using for ourselves and for courses that we build for clients. And they have the ability to serve videos. You can actually require that they watch the video before they progress, right?
Yep.
They have assignments that can be a multiple choice or an essay or quizzes and things like that, or assignments that they have to upload and that you have to look at and approve before they can carry on. They have automatic engagement so that it's what they call gamification. So, after they complete a certain number of activities and they unlock a new level, kind of a situation. You can also drip courses. So, this happens on the first week. These courses become available on the second week. These become available on the third week, and so on. There's a forum so that your students in your course can talk to one another, and just see each other's answers in that course and not be out in social media if you don't want that. They offer all kinds of metrics and other things that are really nice. And also, you can charge money for these courses. If you have one that has a high value objective and a high value outcome, then you can charge money for this. They pay you. They have access to the course. It gets delivered on schedule. You get regular reports of how people are doing, and you carry on with your day job with a second source of income.
Right.
Yeah. So, and a lot of companies actually use education as another revenue center. This is another way that they can earn money and also promote their products and services. So, those are possibilities that we'd really love to have you think about and explore. Okay, so once again, you can use these for prospecting and lead generation. These would probably be a free course that you would use, maybe not, depending on the outcome that you're offering. You may want to charge something for that because, the philosophy is basically if someone has paid for something, they're more likely to take it seriously. So if you have a really good outcome and you're offering really high value, high quality education, then of course you can charge money for that. Onboarding new customers. So this is something that you can offer that will differentiate your products from those of your competitors if you have an onboarding training sequence or something like that, so that their team can get certified in how to use your new piece of equipment or other thing. You can offer training that is designed for the flight crew. So, your dispatcher, your chief pilot, your technicians and other things will probably need to know some things about your new airplane that they don't know already. So if you can offer some kind of onboarding that is specific to that person's role so that they can get up to speed, then the owner is going to get a whole lot more value out of that airplane, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Generating new business from old customers. So you can teach an old dog new tricks, right? Even if somebody's been with you for years and has been using the same product or service, you have to remember that your competitors are approaching them all the time. So, you do need to make sure that your product is fresh and new and that they're getting some value out of it. So you may want to do something like an annual seminar of here's what's going on in the aviation market and here is how this impacts your use of this product or service or, your business, and this is how we can help you with these factors that have come up this year. So, that just shows that you care about your customers and, it will keep them as customers instead of getting tempted away by some horrible competitor who is going to not serve them as well as you can. All right, so we've been doing this. We're offering more value to the people in our marketing lab by providing these workshops. And what it does is it allows me to magnify my time. So people get a certain number of office hours, but if they can get some additional benefit from that on their own time, they want to learn about something at 4:00 in the morning, and I don't want to be up on the phone with them, walking them through it, they can go straight to our materials, watch some 2-minute videos, and learn some stuff about how to set up their budget, or how to set up a strategy, or how to set up a Google ad, or whatever. And, then they get more benefit out of their relationship with us, and I get more sleep. So everybody wins, right? Okay. And then I also have these workshops that we sell. That being said, this episode is being brought to you by our strategy, planning, and budget workshop. The outcome of this workshop is a strategic marketing and sales plan and budget for 2021. So you probably know someone or are someone who is in the throes right now of coming up with a great sales plan and budget for 2021. And if you're starting with a blank sheet of paper, you are not doing yourself any favors, because that's hard. So if you're starting with some templates that work for other aviation companies, and that have been working, what we've been using with clients for a number of years, and have learned some of the do's and don'ts and ins and outs of some of these things, you can start with some great templates and some great videos and some great materials. It comes with a 12-month digital marketing planner, which is a hard copy book. It comes with our calendar and our social media guide for aviation salespeople. So we'd love to have you join us in that workshop. We would also love to have you join us, if you're in sales, in our Sales Basics course, which starts January 11th. And if you want to do both, you can get $500 off of the bundle when you buy them together before the end of the year. So if not, if you're one or the other, that is perfectly fine. I know, some people do sales and not marketing. Some people do marketing and not sales.
And most people wear 2 hats.
A lot of people wear 2 hats these days, especially now, right? Yeah. All right, so go sell more stuff.
The industry and America needs the business.
Absolutely. So we'll see you next week.
Stay safe and happy.